Hi, my name is Aliona, and I struggle with DiGeorge syndrome, and that's what I'm going to talk about here today. So, the DiGeorge syndrome can affect you both physically and psychologically, and I'm going to talk about the differences between these two parts of our body and our mind and our spirits. So, physically, for me, I've had to have 3 open heart surgeries for what happened to me when I was younger. So, when I was a baby, they discovered that I had a missing part of my aorta, of my right ventricle, and of my left ventricle. So, I actually had a hole in my aorta. So, they had to fix the hole in my aorta the next day I was born, or I'd be dead. I wouldn't be here anymore. So they did that right away. And the other 2 surgeries, I was 15 months old and I was 12 years old. So the 15-month-old one was to fix my ventricle and an atrium. And then my 12-year-old one was to make sure that I can grow into the surgery and everything would be okay. And between my younger self and 12 years old, I got all kinds of sick. I got pneumonia, I got bronchitis, I got asthma. I had all the things that nobody really wanted, and I suffered very gravely because my body wasn't able to fight infection as easily as other people did and do. So I talked a little bit about the heart operations. And so for the physical part of the DiGeorge syndrome for myself, I ended up having super bad scoliosis where they also wanted to operate, but my mother didn't want me to operate because I've already had 3 serious operations and she didn't want me to go through that. So my whole life I've had scoliosis, pretty severe. And scoliosis, if you don't know, is where your spine curves. Everybody's spine is already a little curved, but for me it was a very big S, and you might be able to even see it when I'm standing up straight and sitting down. The next thing is varicose veins. I have huge varicose veins in my legs. I've had them my whole life, and I hated my legs because of it. I wouldn't wear shorts, I wouldn't wear skirts, I wouldn't wear bare-legged anything. So, except now at 38, I'm able to do that, but when I was younger, I was too embarrassed. Now I just think they look like cool tattoos that came from myself. Yeah. Okay, so the varicose veins. And then asthma. So, asthma has been the worst for me out of all the physical symptoms that I just listed. Asthma has gotten into my everyday life, and I can't go a day without using my puffer, or else I feel like I'm drowning in myself. It's not very fun. Okay, so that was all the physical components of what DiGeorge syndrome is. So now I'm going to move on to the psychological part of the DiGeorge syndrome. And because your mind and body are so connected, of course, anything physical will affect you mentally as well. Also, so psychologically, the first things that were noticed was learning disabilities. I had debilitating learning disabilities all throughout school, elementary, high school, CEGEP, massage therapy school, which I took afterwards. All of these programs left me crying at home, running in and crying because I just couldn't do it. The work was too hard and I couldn't do it. Whereas the next person sitting next to me was able to do it just fine. So my whole life I've suffered from learning disabilities, and I've had to go to tutors and I've had to go to counselors to help me finish my classes. So I had to do private sessions with tutors. I needed to find the right tutor to help me properly understand my learning disabilities so they can then help me properly. It's a whole mess, but I did it. I struggled. It took me 7 years to finish my massage therapy program, but I finished it and I got that diploma, and now I'm a registered massage therapist. So that equals a real job and real money, right? Okay, so the learning disabilities, which have lasted my whole life and I haven't gotten rid of them, but now I can read, I can write, I can do all of these things that I was never able to do before. And I did all kinds of programs, learning programs. One of them that was really helpful was called Self Healed, and that was just like making my brain stronger, making the part where I pick up the memory that I had from reading the books easier. So I was able to get 85s instead of 35s when I took a test. So I was able to pass the rest of my massage therapy class because of it. So after the learning disabilities, I'm going to get into the depression, anxiety, harm, OCD, and pure O. So these things have definitely affected me in ranges throughout my whole life. So depression is when you're really, it's not just sadness. Sadness and depression are two different things. So for depression, I was so low. I felt like I was covered in a black blanket and like tied so tightly that I couldn't release the blanket and let it go out. I couldn't let the sun come in. I couldn't let friends and family in. It was just so terrible and so isolating. And it's so painful, like it's severe, real depression that you don't want to live anymore. You just want to let everything go because it's too much to handle. So I suffered from depression, clinical depression, 2017, and I had to stay at home with my mom and stepfather for 3 to 6 months. And I had a boyfriend at the time I was living with, so it was very unfortunate and messy ordeal, but I did get out of it, and I'm here to tell you my story. So anxiety, if you've never had anxiety, it just feels like a panic attack, like you can't breathe, like you don't want to do something, like you're circulating inside your own mind, like it's really hard to be able to do anything, and you just want to let everything go and cry and sob and sit there and not do anything. And when that's paired with harm OCD or pure O OCD, OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. So harm OCD could be something that happened to me personally. I have pets and you want to break the necks of your pets, which is awful, and I would never do that, but that's an intrusive thought that came in. Or another intrusive thought was like, I want to kill your mother. There's knives downstairs. You could so easily do it. So that's another intrusive thought. Or you can push a stranger in the streets. That's another intrusive thought. And these were all super scary, and I didn't understand them, and they terrified me. And obsessive compulsive pure O OCD is when the thoughts get really stuck to your mind and you can't let the thoughts go, and that's real OCD. So even with the harm OCD, if you have pure O OCD on top of that, that's a mouthful, then it just gets stuck in your mind and it ruminates and circulates and you can't get it out, and you feel like you're terrible and bad person and evil, maybe a serial killer. Like you can't kick it out of those circles like a hamster on a track. So also, I just wanted to say that there is therapy, there is help, there is a system to help you get better and to at least make each and every day feel fuller and better and not like you want to give up every single day. There is hope out there. So again, my name is Aliona, and if you've watched this whole video through and you think that you have DiGeorge syndrome or any of the other syndromes that I've mentioned, please talk to your doctor. And I hope this video has helped somebody in a small little way, and I hope it makes your day even a little brighter to know that somebody else out there has suffered through it with you. Okay, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in my next video.